Alrighty, sports fans, welcome to the In-Between-Man podcast, where men can be men. And Clint Eastwood's here, along with Kim Jong-un, who's wishing you love, laugh, and life with a nuclear submarine trolling around in the background. So before we get into today's topic, I don't think this is going to be a particularly long one. It's pretty cut and dry. But before I get going, I do want to take a moment. If you're new to the podcast, this is your first time listening, whatever it happens to be, it's going to be an ongoing introduction, at least for the short term, is that I have created an introductory segment in my playlist that goes over the four following things. An introduction to what the four following things are, and they are the who, which is an overview of me, the what, the primary question and mission of this podcast is to discuss why men are struggling today. So all of the content will be focused around that question. The where, how we're going to get this out to the marketplace, whether it be YouTube, whether it be podcasts, whether it be social media, Discord communities, things of that nature, and the how. And the how is really going to share how I'm going to be using the various different platforms to grow a Discord community, basically like a virtual man cave, you know what I mean, where guys can hang out and not worry about being judged. Because, by the way, this is a no judgment zone. It really is. This is a no judgment zone, and we're trying to attract members. It's free to join. Listen, we'll have conversations quite like this, but, I got a lot of guys who, enjoy playing video games, who are older, younger, whoever it happens to be. Come and join us and help us rewrite the narrative for men today so that we don't feel overlooked, we don't feel criticized, and we don't feel less than because of what society as a whole, and even some woke women today are saying about men. Okay? So that's the introduction that I wanted to give. And coupled with that, I also wanted to take some time today to talk more about the last two episodes that I published. One episode was, can you identify with my pain? All right. And there was a purpose and reason for doing that. And then the other one is, how do you know if you've hit an emotional bottom? And on this episode, what I wanted to make sure that I did is provide you an extreme examples of getting and hitting an emotional bottom. And I'm going to do that by providing really four dynamics that drug addicts and alcoholics may face in the course of reaching an emotional bottom and seeking recovery, some kind of recovery, okay? And the purpose behind that is most people aren't drug addicts and alcoholics, and that's a great thing. We don't want that, you know what I mean? But if you have some perspective on what a drug addict or an alcoholic will go through or could go through, now you have perspective, right? And you hopefully, by listening to this, can appreciate the extremes that these dynamics go into. And if you can just relate to a little bit of it, that should just be like a red flag saying to yourself, hey, maybe I should take a look at this, maybe from a personal growth perspective. I want to dive into this area, whatever. It's not relationship guidance. This is all about personal accountability, right? And I wanted to provide these intense examples so that you have a newfound perspective if you need to. Okay? So, that is the reason why. So let's get into it. All right? The 5 dynamics drug addicts and alcoholics could experience when hitting an emotional, physical, or spiritual bottom. Full disclosure, I feel like I need to say this for the sake of full disclosure. I am an active member in a 12-step recovery program. I have been for 31 years. It's fundamentally changed my life in the most positive way I can describe. And I still attend meetings face to face and even virtually. So if you have a feeling towards the 12-step recovery program that you don't like or you've experienced and you don't like, this can give you an opportunity to not listen anymore. And I think that's fair if you have those opinions about it, because everybody's got an opinion, and I want to be full disclosure. Okay, so I'm going to share with you the first dynamic that drug addicts or alcoholics could experience when hitting an emotional, spiritual, and physical bottom. And it's defined as intense emotional turmoil. So this is a surge of overwhelming feelings such as hopelessness, despair, depression, anxiety, shame, guilt, resentment, and deep regret pervades. Emotional bottom is marked by an uncontrollable mood swings, crying spells, and a pervasive sense that life is unmanageable. That's what's being described as an intense emotional turmoil. And I can say to you, through my experience, that's exactly what happened to me. All right, I had recognized that my life was totally unmanageable, and quite frankly, even a week ago was All right, so let's dive into number 2. Okay, again, controversial topic. I'm not trying to create controversy, but spiritual dislation and crisis of meaning. This happened to me, so I'm going to share it with you. It may not happen to you, thus you don't have to include it. Individuals often feel a profound spiritual void or emptiness. There may be a loss of faith, disconnection from faith or even a higher power, and a sense that life lacks purpose or worth. This disenchantment can foster existential questions like, why am I here? And is there any hope for me? Okay? Again, these are extreme measures. Not many people get to this point. And you don't have to get to this point. If you're not there. You know what I mean? All right, so let's go to number 3. Number 3 is severe physical consequences. Not like just physical consequences. We're talking severe physical consequences. Substances or drinking frequently cause dramatic and visible bodily decline, poor health, withdrawal symptoms, malnutrition, fatigue, illness, or even serious medical emergencies. The person may become unable to perform daily tasks, experience frequent hospitalizations, or notice the direct impact of their addiction or alcoholism on their body's survival. I mean, the body is an incredible piece of machinery, and it can sustain a lot of freaking damage. It's just unbelievable what I've seen in my experience communicating and helping drug addicts and alcoholics. Like, I remember a guy came to a meeting and he was fucking orange. and he had cirrhosis. I think that's the cirrhosis of the liver, and just was orange. He had orange in his eyes where his white spots would be, or where the white areas of his eyes. He looked orange. He looked like, like the Oompa Loompas in the new Johnny Depp Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It just was like orange. And it's some scary stuff. And it's incredible what we can do to our bodies when we're in the throes of addiction. Okay, the fourth one is profound isolation and alienation. Relationships with loved ones are often damaged or severed. The addict or alcoholic may experience extreme loneliness, believing nobody understands or will tolerate them. Social withdrawal and isolation are common, sometimes accompanied by homelessness or estrangement from families. And if you listen to Can You Identify with My Pain? I talked about how this happened to me. I just pushed away everybody that I loved and and abused them so much that they were just like, we got to wash our hands from this guy. So when I'm isolated and asking myself why people aren't coming to my help, family members, well, they're just ground down to the bone, and they're not interested in helping me anymore because they know what my patterns have been, which is to lie, cheat, and steal. And they didn't want anything to do with me. And that's kind of where these drug addicts and alcoholics finally get to. Now, number 5 is an interesting one, which is having a desperate realization and willingness to change. So when you reach this emotional bottom, physical bottom, spiritual bottom, and you've gotten to this place where you're just like, I cannot fucking do this anymore, right? And I don't have the courage to put a gun in my mouth and off myself, which many drug addicts and alcoholics do. You experience this dynamic, which is at this bottom, denial shatters. The person acknowledges that their life is out of control and previous attempts to manage or quit have failed. This realization may prompt a moment of surrender, letting go of pride, and seeking help. It creates a window of willingness to try new solutions, such as alternative recovery programs, treatment centers or recovery centers, various different support groups, even 12-step groups, and possibly getting back into your religious practices and beliefs. Okay? And those are all things that are good. You know what I mean? And if you've reached a point where you no longer enjoy the bottom that you're at and you're willing to make a change, then you're willing to look at things about yourself that you've never considered before. And regardless of how you go about doing it, I believe that it's a step in the right direction. You're making a decision to make your life better just for today. And what's better than that? So these intertwined dynamics mark one of the lowest points in a person's life, but can also serve as a crucial turning point. Many who achieve long-term recovery recognize hitting bottom as the event that motivated them to seek lasting change and support. Right? It's the place where we get to where we finally raise our hands and say, God damn it, I need fucking help, and I'm serious. I can't do this anymore. It's a moment of just desperate realization. Fine, I can't do it. I don't know what I just need help, right? And that's a great realization, a desperate realization, and a willingness to change. I mean, you may not I mean, not like, hey, you're super excited to do all this change. You're not, because you're so broken. But you may be at a point where whatever direction you decide to go in, or that's provided to you from a recovery standpoint, can help you stay sober for a long period of time, however long you want to stay sober for, right? And that's a good thing. So again, does this apply to the everyday person? No way. No way am I saying that. But this does apply to severe drug addicts and alcoholics on every level and on every scale, so that you can see what depths they are willing to go to feed their addiction. And so, again, if you can identify with some of this stuff and agree with it, maybe it's something you want to look at. Maybe you want to change for the better. Maybe you don't. I'm not saying that you have to. I'm just saying that this perspective, I'm hoping, gives you a much better understanding of the severity that some people go through under the grips of drug addiction and alcoholism. And if they don't have a deep realization and don't have a willingness to change, then what's going to happen? No one really knows, right? I mean, I've seen it too much to know that it doesn't usually end very well. And that is the truth. So without any further ado, I do want to remind all of you, please consider checking out our our Etsy shop. We've got some man cards in there that you can use for maybe on first dates that you're going on, as a humorous way to get your brutally honest opinion across to your date who's bought her 12 children to-go meals. Please check out the introduction in our playlist that describes what the nature of this podcast is, the who of what this podcast will be presenting, which is me, the what, where, and how we are going to market with answering the question of why are men struggling today. I hope this has been helpful and given you some perspective, that you've learned something today, and that you'll consider coming back again. All right? So, without any further ado, I'm going to wish you a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in there, and I'll see you on the next one.